The Second Life of Mirielle West, a novel by Amanda Skenandore. In this thought-provoking and sensitive novel, acclaimed author Amanda Skenandore tells an extraordinarily timely story of resilience, hope, and the last woman who expected to find herself in such a place, inspired by the true story of a Louisiana leprosy hospital where patients were forcibly quarantined. 1920s Mirielle West's days are filled with shopping, luncheons, and preparing for the several dazzling events she attends with her husband, Charlie. Mirielle West seemed to have everything. A movie star spouse, parties with the rich and famous, and 2 fantastic children. She was too preoccupied to see the little patch of pale flesh on the back of her hand. Mirielle is the image of health, except for the odd overindulgence in gin and champagne, which serves to soothe the sorrow of a recent tragedy. Mirielle hesitantly agrees to extra testing, but her doctor pushes, and she is diagnosed with leprosy. Leprosy is a painful and unfathomable diagnosis. Mirielle is sent to rural Louisiana for what she believes would be a quick recovery, changing her name to protect Charlie and their 2 young children. However, the hospital in Carville turns out to be more of a jail than a haven for rehabilitation. Deaths greatly exceed discharges, and many patients have been in the hospital for years. Some are severely harmed, while others are comparatively untouched. For everyone, the disease's stigma is as pernicious as its physical progression. Mirielle secretly traveled by rail to U.S. Marine Hospital 66, or Carville, Louisiana. Mirielle is forced to confront her diagnosis. Mirielle, who goes by the alias Pauline Marvin, tries to acclimate to life in the hospital as well as accept her situation. All she wants to do is get out, even if it means breaking through the fence and returning to her family. Even if doing so would expose them to scorn and the social shame of being related to a leper. Mirielle initially keeps her distance from the other occupants, unable to accept her new life. Mirielle becomes an absolutely loathed egotist who only cares about herself. She gradually begins to feel a sense of community and purpose at Carville, assisting nurses and physicians while excitedly anticipating her return home. But even that yearning is tainted with doubt. How can she reconcile the woman, wife, and mother she once was with the stranger she has become? And how much is she willing to pay to safeguard those she cares about? Mirielle gradually befriends a few other patients, including her roommate and co-worker Irene, Frank, a little orphan girl named Jean, and even a couple of the nuns. She is determined to discover a cure for leprosy and even assist Frank in organizing parties. However, the stigma of her sickness and her depression before arriving at Carville weigh heavily on Mirielle, and she frequently reverts to her old, arrogant self. Skenandore puts light on sickness and history that has been mostly forgotten in U.S. history. Though not as well known as the Molokai colony, Carville was a dynamic home for many people suffering from Hansen's disease, and many opted to stay long after their 12 negative tests. Skenandore's meticulous attention to history, community, and stigma rings true throughout the work. Yet many of the characters are lightly sketched. This fits a setting where everyone hides behind a pseudonym, though it hinders emotional relationships to supporting characters. A thoroughly researched and expertly constructed narrative about identity and courage. Mirielle gradually befriends a few other patients, including her roommate and co-worker Irene, Frank, a little orphan girl named Jean, and even a couple of the nuns. She is determined to discover a cure for leprosy and even assist Frank in organizing parties. However, the stigma of her sickness and her depression before arriving at Carville weigh heavily on Mirielle, and she frequently reverts to her old, arrogant self.